The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the horizon's edge. Commander Jake Morrison stood with his hands behind his back, watching the endless darkness through the main viewport. His crew had been mapping this sector of space for 3 months now, and everything had been quiet. Too quiet, some of them joked. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange," Lisa Gardner said from the pilot station. She was young, only 26, but she had the best instincts of any pilot Jake had ever worked with. When Lisa said something was strange, he listened. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of strange?" "It's a signal. Very weak, but it's definitely artificial. Not human origin either." Lisa's fingers danced across her controls. "It's coming from the 4th planet in the system ahead. Should I plot a course?" Jake thought for a moment. Their orders were clear. Map the sector and avoid contact with unknown species. Earth Command wanted to know what was out here before making friends or enemies. But a distress signal was a distress signal. Some rules were meant to be broken. Take us in, but keep us ready to jump if anything goes wrong. The Horizon's Edge was not a warship. She was an exploration vessel, built for science and discovery, not combat. She had basic shields and a few defensive weapons, but nothing that could fight off a real threat. Jake's crew of 43 people were explorers, scientists, and support staff. They were not soldiers. Danny Clark, the chief engineer, came up from the engine room. He was a big man with rough hands and an easy smile. "I heard we're changing course. Going to check out that signal?" "We are," Jake confirmed. "How are the engines?" "Running smooth as butter. We can jump out fast if we need to." Danny leaned against the wall, his smile fading. "But sir, if this is a trap—" "I know the risks," Jake said quietly. "But what if someone really needs help?" The journey to the 4th planet took 6 hours. As they got closer, the signal became clearer. It was a message, repeating over and over in multiple languages. The ship's computer worked to translate it. Karen Hughes, the medical officer, brought the translation to the bridge. Her hands were shaking as she held the data pad. "Sir, you need to read this." Jake took the pad and read aloud so everyone could hear. "To anyone who receives this message, we are the Kalari. Our world is dying. Our people are being destroyed by an enemy we cannot defeat. We have fought for 3 years, but we are losing. If you hear this, please remember that we existed. Please remember that we tried to survive. Please tell the galaxy that the Varatham came and we could not stop them." The bridge went silent. Ryan Blake, the tactical officer, was the first to speak. "The Varatham? Who are they?" "I don't know," Jake said. "But we're about to find out. Lisa, take us into orbit. Careful now." What they saw made everyone's blood run cold. The planet below was beautiful with blue oceans and green continents. But the skies were filled with ships. Massive, organic-looking vessels that seemed alive. They moved like sharks through water, circling and diving toward the surface. Smaller craft swarmed around them like insects. "My God," Lisa whispered. "There must be hundreds of them." Jake watched as beams of light shot down from the ships, cutting into cities below. He could see explosions even from orbit. Entire sections of cities were being torn apart and pulled up into the waiting ships above. "They're harvesting everything," Danny said, his voice hollow. "The buildings, the people, everything." "Sir, I'm detecting life signs on the surface," Ryan reported. "But they're fading fast. Whatever those ships are doing, it's killing everyone down there." Jake's mind raced. They were just one small ship. They couldn't fight hundreds of enemy vessels. But they couldn't just watch either. "Ryan, are any of those ships paying attention to us?" "No, sir. They seem focused on the planet. I don't think they've noticed us yet." "Lisa, can you get us down to the surface? Somewhere away from those big ships?" "Are you crazy?" Danny asked. "Sir, with respect, we can't fight those things." "We're not going to fight," Jake said firmly. "We're going to rescue whoever we can. Lisa, find me a landing zone." Lisa's fingers flew across her controls. "There's a valley on the southern continent. No enemy ships directly overhead. But sir, I can't promise how long it'll stay clear. It'll have to do. Take us down. Everyone else prepare for possible evacuees. Karen, get the medical bay ready. Danny, I need you to keep those engines hot. We might need to leave in a hurry." The Horizon's Edge dropped through the atmosphere like a stone. The ship shook and rattled, but Lisa kept her steady. They broke through the clouds and everyone could see the devastation clearly now. Cities burned below. The sky was filled with smoke and ash. Lisa found the valley and brought the ship down hard. The landing gear hit the ground with a thud that shook everyone on board. "We're down," she announced. "But sir, I'm picking up movement. Something's heading our way." Jake grabbed a weapon from the locker near his chair. He had not fired a gun in years, but he remembered how. Ryan, Danny, Lisa with me. Karen, stay on the ship and be ready to treat wounded. Everyone else, defensive positions. They opened the cargo bay door and stepped out into an alien world. The air smelled like burning metal and something else, something organic and wrong. The sky above was dark with smoke lit by fires in the distance. Over there, Ryan pointed. A group of figures were running toward them. They were not human. They stood on 2 legs and had 2 arms, but their skin was covered in scales that shimmered blue and green. Their faces were angular, with large eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. The group reached them and the leader fell to his knees. He looked up at Jake with desperation in his eyes. "Please," he said in broken English, the translator device on his belt working hard. "Please help us. They are killing everyone. The children. Please save the children." Behind him, Jake could see more Kalari running toward the ship. Some were carrying younglings, others were wounded and bleeding. In the distance, one of the massive enemy ships was turning in their direction. "Get them on board," Jake ordered. "All of them, move." His crew sprang into action, helping the refugees up the cargo ramp. The Kalari leader grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. "I am Vesh. I commanded our defense fleet. But we failed. These creatures, the Vorathim, they cannot be stopped. You must leave this place. You must warn your people. They will come for you too." "How many are you?" Jake asked. "We were billions. Now we are thousands. Maybe less." Vesh's voice broke. "They have taken everything." Lisa's voice crackled over Jake's radio. "Sir, that big ship is definitely coming toward us. We have maybe 2 minutes." Jake looked at the stream of refugees still running toward them. They were not going to make it. Not all of them. He could see more in the distance, too far away to reach the ship in time. "Load everyone you can," Jake said into his radio. "But be ready to lift off on my command." More Kalari climbed aboard. Jake counted 30, then 40, then 50. The cargo bay was getting crowded. The enemy ship was getting closer, blotting out what little light remained in the sky. "Sir, we have to go," Danny shouted. "Now!" Jake looked one more time at the distant figures still running. His heart broke, but he knew Danny was right. "Close the cargo bay. Lisa, get us out of here." The doors closed and the horizon's edge lifted off just as the enemy ship fired. The beam missed them by meters, tearing a canyon in the ground where they had been seconds before. Lisa pushed the engines to maximum, racing back toward space. Jake went to the cargo bay. The Kalari refugees huddled together, holding their younglings close. Some were crying. Others just stared at nothing, their eyes empty with shock. Vesh stood among them, looking lost. "You saved us," Vesh said quietly. "Why? You do not know us." Jake did not have a good answer. He just knew it was the right thing to do. Because someone had to. As the ship climbed back into orbit, Jake watched the planet shrink below them. The enemy ships continued their terrible work, harvesting a civilization that had stood for thousands of years. In a few days, maybe hours, the Kalari would be extinct, except for the few dozen souls in his cargo bay. "Get us to the edge of the system," Jake ordered. "And someone get me a line to Earth Command. They need to know what's coming." President Helen Carter sat at the head of the long table in the Global Defense Council chamber. Around her sat the most powerful military, leaders and scientists on Earth. The holographic display in the center of the table showed the recording Jake Morrison had sent from the horizon's edge. Everyone watched in silence as the massive alien ships tore apart the Kalari homeworld. When the recording ended, nobody spoke for a long moment. Finally, General Frank Hayes cleared his throat. He was an old soldier with gray hair and tired eyes. "How long until they reach our space?" "We don't know," Admiral Patricia Cole answered. She was younger than Hayes but had commanded fleets for 20 years. "Commander Morrison's report says the Kalari fought them for 3 years before falling. But we don't know how fast these Varathim move, or if they even know we exist yet." "Then we have time to evacuate," said Council Member Richard Stone. "We can move our border colonies deeper into our territory, pull everyone back to the core worlds, and then what?" Dr. Benjamin Ross spoke up. He was a thin man with glasses who looked more like a teacher than a scientist. "We pull back now and they keep coming. We pull back again. Eventually, we run out of space to pull back to. Earth becomes our last stand, and by then we'll be alone." "Better alone than dead," Stone argued. "We've seen what these creatures can do. Our weapons might not even hurt them." President Carter raised her hand for silence. Dr. Ross, you've been studying the data Morrison sent. Do you have an analysis? Ross stood and activated his own display. It showed the internal structure of a Varatham ship. These vessels are partially biological. They're grown, not built. That's why they can repair damage so quickly. But that's also their weakness. They're all connected through some kind of network, a shared intelligence. The Kalari tried to fight them ship by ship, which didn't work. But if we could disrupt that network, we could hurt them, Admiral Cole finished. How do we disrupt it? I don't know yet, Ross admitted. But I have some ideas. I need time and resources. General Hayes shook his head. Time is something we might not have. If these things are as aggressive as they appear, they could hit our colonies within months. Then we make a decision now, President Carter said firmly. She looked around the table at each person. Do we run or do we fight? With respect, Madam President, this isn't our fight, Stone said. The Kalari are already gone. We can't save them. No, but we can avenge them, Admiral Cole said quietly. And we can make sure the Varatham know that humanity won't be easy prey. President Carter stood. I want opinions from all of you within 24 hours. In the meantime, Dr. Ross, you have whatever resources you need. Admiral Cole, start preparing the fleet. General Hayes, I want our colonies fortified and ready to evacuate if necessary. We plan for the worst and hope for the best. The meeting ended, but Carter stayed behind with Admiral Cole. Patricia, what are our chances if we fight? Cole considered the question carefully. Honestly, if we fight them the way the Kalari did, we lose. But if Dr. Ross can find a way to hurt their network, we might have a chance. A small one. And if we run, then we buy some time. But eventually they'll find us. Running only works if you have somewhere to run to. Carter walked to the window and looked out at Earth below. Billions of people going about their lives not knowing what was coming. I became president to protect those people. All of them. But how do I ask them to fight for aliens they've never met? You don't ask them to fight for aliens, Cole said. You ask them to fight for what's right. Humans have always fought for that. Across the solar system, news of the Varatham spread quickly. On the colony world of New Haven, a farming community 300 light-years from Earth, people gathered in the town square to watch the president's address. Greg Palmer stood with his neighbors, his worn hands holding his hat. President Carter's face appeared on the screen. My fellow humans, she began. I come to you today with grave news. We have discovered that we are not alone in the universe. We have also discovered that the universe can be a dark and dangerous place. She showed them the recording from the Kalari homeworld. People gasped. Some cried. Greg felt his stomach twist as he watched the destruction. The question before us now is simple. Carter continued. Do we hide and hope they never find us? Or do we stand and fight not just for ourselves, but for every species that cannot defend itself? I know what I'm asking. I'm asking farmers to become soldiers. I'm asking parents to risk never seeing their children again. I'm asking all of you to fight for people you've never met, on worlds you've never seen. But I believe in humanity. I believe we are better than the monsters who destroyed the Kalari. And I believe that if we don't stand now, we will regret it forever. The screen went dark. The crowd in the town square stood silent. Then Amy Stone, the local schoolteacher, spoke up. My grandmother fought in the resource wars. She always said the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. But we're farmers, someone argued. We don't know how to fight. Then we'll learn, Greg said firmly. He was surprised by his own voice. He had never been a brave man. He grew corn and raised chickens. But something about watching that planet die had changed something inside him. If those things come here, they'll kill our families just like they killed the Kalari. I say we don't wait for them to come here. I say we go to them, others nodded. By the end of the night, 200 people from New Haven had volunteered for military service. On Titan Station, an industrial moon around Saturn, engineer Chris Murphy worked late in his workshop. He had watched the president's address 3 times, studying the Varatham ships carefully. Something about them bothered him. His assistant, a young woman named Sophie Grant, brought him coffee. You should go home, Chris. You've been here for 16 hours. Look at this, Chris said, pointing to his screen. See how those ships move? They're not using conventional engines. They're moving through some kind of organic propulsion. But when they fire their weapons, there's a power surge through the whole vessel. That means their weapons draw from their main power source. So if we could overload that power source, the whole ship might fail. We just need a weapon that can generate enough electromagnetic feedback. Chris's eyes lit up. Sophie, we use electromagnetic pulses for mining. To break up asteroids. What if we could weaponize that? Sophie caught on quickly. You mean turn mining equipment into weapons? Why not? We have thousands of mining drones all over the asteroid belt. If we could retrofit them with military-grade EMP generators? Chris was already sketching designs. We could build an army. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross worked in his laboratory with barely any sleep. He had samples of the material Jake Morrison had collected from the Kalari planet. It was organic but also had metallic properties. The more he studied it, the more he understood how the Vorathim worked. His assistant, Dr. Laura Kim, brought him test results. Ben, look at this. When I exposed the sample to specific radio frequencies, it started to break down. The cellular structure became unstable. Ross looked at the data and felt a surge of excitement. That's it. That's how we hurt them. We don't use traditional weapons. We use frequency weapons. If we can find the right frequency, we can disrupt their network. But how do we deliver it? We'd need to get close to them. Missiles, Ross said. Quantum cascade missiles. They can adjust their frequency in flight. If we can hit enough ships at once, the cascade effect should spread through their network. It won't kill them all, but it'll make them vulnerable to conventional weapons. How long to build these missiles? Months, maybe a year. Ross rubbed his eyes. But we don't have a year. Then we buy time, came Admiral Cole's voice from the doorway. She had been listening. Commander Morrison is still out there with those Kalari survivors. What if we sent him back to their homeworld, set up a defensive position and make the Vorathim fight for every inch? It would slow them down and give us time to prepare. You're asking him to hold a dead world against impossible odds, Ross said. I'm asking him to do what he does best. Stand up for what's right, no matter the cost. Cole's expression was hard but sad. I'll give him every ship I can spare. But yes, it will be a suicide mission for most of them. President Carter had the final say. She called Jake Morrison directly, the signal taking hours to reach the horizon's edge. When Jake's face appeared on screen, he looked tired but determined. Commander Morrison, I'm going to ask you to do something that might get you killed, Carter said bluntly. I want you to take a fleet back to the Kalari homeworld. Hold it as long as you can. Make the Vorathim bleed for every inch they take. Buy us time to prepare our defenses. Jake was quiet for a moment. Behind him, Vesh the Kalari commander stood listening. Madam President, I have 43 crew members. Most of them signed up for exploration, not war. I can't order them to die, I know. That's why I'm asking you to volunteer. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle back to Earth. No judgment, no dishonor. But Jake, we need time. And we need to show the Vorathim that humans don't give up. Not ever. Jake looked back at Vesh. The alien commander nodded slowly. We will fight with you. We could not save our world before, but perhaps we can save it now, even if only in memory. Give me an hour to talk to my crew, Jake said. The news of the defeat at the Kalari homeworld spread across human space within hours. The images were brutal. 12 ships lost, thousands dead, the Vorathim still coming. Some voices called it a disaster. They demanded that Earth pull back its colonies and prepare for defensive war, but something unexpected happened. Instead of panic, the loss ignited something deep in the human spirit. The phrase started on New Haven, where Greg Palmer's wife stood in front of the cameras and said simply, "My husband stood for strangers. Now we all stand together." Within days, it became a rallying cry. Protests turned into recruitment drives. People lined up outside military offices demanding to be sent to the front. Factories that made farming equipment retooled to produce weapons. Mining colonies sent every spare resource to Earth. Retired soldiers came back to service. Even children contributed, organizing supply drives and writing letters to the troops. Retired Admiral George Turner watched the transformation from his home on Mars. He was 70 years old, with a bad leg from an old injury, and he had sworn he would never go back to war. But when President Carter called him personally, he could not refuse. "George, I need someone who knows how to command a fleet in impossible situations," Carter said. "Someone who won't give up even when logic says we should." Jake Morrison and his people bought us time. Now we need to use it. Turner accepted command of the new colonial defense fleet. It was a massive force being assembled from every corner of human space. Warships, civilian vessels, experimental craft. Anything that could fly and fight was being gathered. The goal was simple: return to the Kalari homeworld, now renamed Last Hope, and make a stand that the Voratham would never forget. We're not trying to win, Turner explained to his staff. We're trying to hurt them so badly that they think twice about coming after Earth. We're trying to show the galaxy that humans are not prey. Meanwhile, engineer Maya Phillips worked around the clock in a secret laboratory on Titan Station. She was Chris Murphy's colleague, a brilliant mind who specialized in quantum mechanics. Dr. Ross had sent her the data from the EMP drones, and she had an idea. The drones worked, but they were too slow and too fragile, Maya explained to her team. We need something faster, something that can spread the network disruption through multiple ships at once. That's why I designed the Quantum Cascade missile. She pulled up holographic blueprints. The missile looked conventional at first glance, but inside was something revolutionary. When it detonates near a Voratham ship, it releases a quantum frequency burst. That burst is designed to match the Voratham network signal. It disrupts their connection and causes a cascade effect. Each disrupted ship spreads the signal to others nearby. How many ships can one missile affect? Asked her assistant, a young physicist named Nathan Lee. In theory, a dozen, maybe more if they're clustered together. The cascade spreads exponentially until it burns out. Maya smiled grimly. We call it the disruptor. And we're building 5,000 of them. Back at Last Hope, Jake Morrison and the survivors of the first battle had not retreated. Against all orders, they had returned to the planet's moon and dug in. They set up a hidden base in the moon's crater system, using Kalari technology to mask their presence. From there, they launched guerrilla attacks on the Voratham forces that were still harvesting the planet below. Sir, this is insane, Lisa Gardner said. She was exhausted, they all were, but Jake had refused to leave. Command ordered us to return to Earth. We're supposed to be gathering with Turner's fleet. I sent everyone who wanted to leave, Jake replied. You're still here because you chose to stay. We all did. Around the command center, 200 humans and 300 Kalari worked together. Vesh had taken command of the Kalari forces, teaching the humans how to fight in the underground tunnels. Karen Hughes ran a medical station that treated both species equally. Danny Clark kept their makeshift base running with equipment held together by skill and determination. They were not alone for long. Within weeks, other ships began arriving. Volunteers who heard about Jake's stand and wanted to join. A destroyer called the Defiant II, named after the ship lost in the first battle, arrived with a full crew. Captain Nicole Reed limped back to Last Hope in the repaired Valiant, bringing supplies and reinforcements. You know you're all crazy, right? Nicole said when she met with Jake. Command is furious that you disobeyed orders. Let them be furious, Jake said. We're making a difference here. Every Voratham ship we damage is one less ship in their fleet. Every day we hold this position is another day Earth has to prepare. I know. That's why I came back. Nicole gestured to the moon's surface where crews were digging new defensive positions. We're building a fortress here. When Turner brings the main fleet, we'll be ready. On Earth, President Carter addressed the planet one more time. Her face appeared on every screen in human space. 6 weeks ago, I asked you to stand against an enemy that had destroyed an entire civilization. Many of you answered. Today I'm asking again. Admiral Turner is taking the largest fleet humanity has ever assembled back to Last Hope. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for the idea that civilization means something, that we protect the weak, that we stand against darkness. She paused, her eyes fierce with determination. The Voratham think they're unstoppable. Let's prove them wrong. The Colonial Defense Fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system, 500 ships ranging from massive dreadnoughts to tiny fighters. Turner's flagship was the Defiance, a new dreadnought built in record time and armed with every weapon humanity could design. Its captain was a veteran named Sam Porter, a quiet man with a genius for tactics. Among the fleet were familiar faces. Greg Palmer had survived the first battle and volunteered again, this time as a squad leader. Amy Stone served as head nurse on the medical ship Mercy. Chris Murphy commanded a squadron of modified mining vessels, each one carrying his improved EMP weapons. Maya Phillips herself was aboard the science vessel Discovery, overseeing the deployment of her quantum cascade missiles. The journey to Last Hope took 2 weeks. When they emerged at the edge of the system, they found Jake Morrison's resistance fleet waiting for them. The meeting between Turner and Jake was tense. You disobeyed direct orders, Turner said flatly. Yes, sir, Jake replied. And in doing so, we've killed 24 Voratham ships and gathered intelligence on their tactics. We've also proven they can be beaten. That has to count for something. Turner studied the younger officer for a long moment, then smiled. It counts for everything. Welcome to the fleet, Commander. Now brief me on what we're facing. The Varatham had reinforced their position massively. Over 1,000 bioships now occupied the system, their largest fleet ever assembled. They had learned from the first battle and adjusted their tactics. They maintained tighter formations, rotated their ships regularly to keep them fresh, and had improved their regeneration speed. They're treating this system like a fortress, Vesh explained during the strategy meeting. They know you'll come back. They're waiting for you. Good, Turner said, because we're not sneaking in, we're going straight at them. He activated the tactical display. We split into 3 groups. The main battle fleet hits them head-on, drawing their attention. Maya's science ships hit them from the flank with the Cascade missiles. Jake's resistance fleet stays mobile, hitting targets of opportunity and disrupting their coordination. That still leaves us outnumbered 2-1, Sam Porter noted. Then we make sure every shot counts. Turner looked around the table at the assembled commanders. This is it. This is where we show the galaxy what humanity stands for. Not all of us will make it home, but those who do will tell a story that lasts forever. The fleet prepared for 3 days. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Crews trained in simulators. Pilots practiced formations until they could fly them in their sleep. The Kalari survivors, now numbering nearly 20,000, volunteered to help however they could. Some joined the combat crews. Others worked in support roles. All of them wanted to see their world avenged. On the eve of battle, Jake walked through the corridors of the horizon's edge. His original crew of 43 had been reduced to 28 through casualties. But they had trained hundreds of others, spreading their experience through the fleet. He found Lisa Gardner in the pilot's ready room, staring at a photo of her family on Earth. You should have gone home when I gave the order, Jake said gently. Probably, Lisa agreed. But then who would keep you out of trouble? She looked up at him with tired eyes. Do you think we can win this? Honestly, I don't know. But I know we're going to try. And sometimes that's enough. In the medical bay, Karen Hughes prepared for casualties. She had trained 200 medics in the past weeks, teaching them how to treat both human and Kalari injuries. Amy Stone worked beside her, organizing supplies with calm efficiency. I was a teacher, Amy said quietly. I taught children about history and math. Now I'm learning how to treat plasma burns and radiation sickness. War changes everyone, Karen replied. The question is whether it changes us for better or worse. That depends on whether we remember why we're fighting, Amy said. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting because someone has to stand against evil. The fleet gathered at the edge of the Kalari home system like a storm preparing to break. 20 military vessels from Earth, ranging from heavy destroyers to light frigates, hung in the darkness of space. Among them were dozens of converted civilian ships, volunteers who had answered the call. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, now designated as the command ship, and looked at the ragtag force that would make humanity's first stand. Captain Nicole Reed commanded the destroyer Valiant, the most powerful warship in the group. She was 40 years old, a career officer who had seen combat in the colony disputes 10 years ago. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Scott Hayes, was half her age but had top scores from the academy. Together they formed the spine of the defensive fleet. All ships reporting ready, sir, Lisa Gardner said from her station. She had been promoted to fleet communications officer, coordinating all 20 vessels. Jake activated the fleet-wide channel. This is Commander Morrison to all ships. I won't lie to you about what we're facing. The Varatham destroyed the Kalari in 3 years. They have more ships, better technology, and they don't seem to care about losses. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of. Today we teach them. He paused, gathering his thoughts. We're not here to win. We're here to buy time. Every hour we hold this system is an hour our people back home have to prepare. Every ship we destroy is one less ship that reaches Earth. Some of us won't make it home. I accept that. But I promise you this, they will remember we were here. They will remember that humans stand and fight. The channel went silent. Then Nicole Reed's voice came through, steady and strong. Valiant standing by. Let's show these things what happens when they mess with Earth. One by one, the other captains checked in. Greg Palmer, who had left his farm on New Haven, was now serving as a gunner on the converted freighter Steadfast. Amy Stone, the teacher, had joined the medical corps and was stationed on the Independence Admiral Cole's flagship that had limped here after emergency repairs. Chris Murphy had brought 3 mining ships from Titan Station, their cargo holds now filled with his experimental EMP weapons. The Varatham arrived 6 hours later. Their fleet appeared at the system's edge, emerging from whatever faster-than-light method they used. The massive bioships numbered in the hundreds, their organic hulls pulsing with sickly light. Smaller attack craft swarmed around them like flies around corpses. "Contact," Ryan Blake announced from Tactical. His hands moved quickly across his console, feeding data to every ship in the fleet. "I count 347 large vessels. Unknown number of small craft. They're heading straight for the planet." Jake felt his mouth go dry but kept his voice steady. "All ships to defensive positions. Form up around the planet's largest moon. Make them come to us." The human fleet moved into formation. The moon provided some cover and limited the angles the Varatham could attack from. It was not much of an advantage, but it was something. The first wave of Varatham ships closed the distance. They moved with an eerie grace, their biohulls rippling as they accelerated. At 50,000 kilometers, they opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out and the battle began. Nicole Reed's Valiant was first to return fire. Her railgun spat tungsten slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. The first shots hit a Varatham cruiser dead center, punching through its hull and exploding out the other side. The alien ship shuddered and began to list. "Direct hit," Scott Hayes reported. "Target is damaged but still functional. Wait, I'm reading something strange. The damaged sections are healing. Growing back." "Confirmed," Ryan Blake added from the horizon's edge. "Their ships can regenerate damage, but it takes time. If we can overwhelm their healing capability, we can kill them." "All ships concentrate fire," Jake ordered. "Don't spread out your shots. Pick targets and hammer them until they die." The human fleet opened up with everything they had. Nuclear-tipped missiles streaked through space. Railguns fired in coordinated volleys. Laser batteries carved burning lines across alien hulls. The Varatham began taking losses, but they kept coming. A frigate named Defiant took a direct hit to its engine section. The ship broke apart in a ball of fire, taking 60 crew members with it. Another ship, the civilian transport Unity, tried to ram a damaged Varatham vessel and succeeded, destroying both ships in the collision. "They're adapting," Nicole reported grimly. "Their shields are adjusting to our weapon frequencies. Our lasers are becoming less effective." Jake made a quick decision. "Chris Murphy, you're up. Deploy your EMP drones." On the converted mining ship Opportunity, Chris Murphy grinned despite the fear churning in his gut. "Roger that, Commander. Launching now." 20 small mining drones shot out from the Opportunity's cargo bay. They were ugly, boxy things, covered in industrial plating and bristling with makeshift weapons. Chris had programmed them himself, teaching mining drones to hunt warships. The drones accelerated toward the Varatham line, weaving between enemy fire. 3 were destroyed before reaching their targets, but the rest got through. They latched onto the hulls of alien ships and activated their EMP generators. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The electromagnetic pulse tore through the Varatham vessel's biological systems, disrupting the network that connected them. Ships went dark, their weapons falling silent, their movements becoming confused and sluggish. "It's working," Sophie Grant shouted from the Opportunity. She was monitoring the drone's performance. "The EMP is disrupting their coordination. They're vulnerable." "All ships focus on the disabled vessels," Jake ordered. "Kill them while they're down." The human fleet poured fire into the stunned Varatham ships. Without their network connection and regeneration capability, the alien vessels died quickly. 10 ships exploded in as many minutes, but the Varatham learned fast. The rest of their fleet pulled back, adjusting their formation. When they attacked again, they spread out more, making it harder to concentrate fire. They targeted the smaller human ships, destroying the lightly armed civilian vessels first. On the planet below, a different battle was raging. Jake had sent teams down to the Kalari underground cities where survivors still hid. Karen Hughes led a medical unit that was treating wounded Kalari and preparing evacuation shelters. Danny Clark commanded an engineering team that was rigging the tunnel systems with explosives, creating traps for any Varatham ground forces. "Commander, we have a problem." Danny's voice came through on the radio. "The Varatham are landing troops on the surface. Thousands of them. They're hunting through the ruins for survivors," Jake cursed. He had hoped the space battle would keep the Varathim occupied, but they were smart enough to split their forces. Can you hold them off? For a while. But sir, we're engineers and medics down here, not soldiers. We need help. Jake looked at his tactical display. He could not spare ships from the space battle. If the fleet broke formation, the Varathim would overwhelm them. But he could not abandon the people on the ground either. Lisa, get me anyone on this fleet who has ground combat experience. Lisa worked her console quickly. Sir, the Steadfast has 2 squads of former colonial marines aboard. They're cargo handlers now, but they remember how to fight. Send them down, and find me volunteers to go with them. Within an hour, a mixed force of 40 humans and 20 Kalari warriors landed near the underground cities. Greg Palmer was among them, carrying a rifle he had not held since his mandatory service 20 years ago. Vesh led the Kalari contingent, his face set with grim determination. The Varathim ground forces were unlike anything in the human tactical database. They were biomechanical horrors, part machine and part creature with multiple limbs ending in weapons or cutting tools. They moved through the ruins with terrible efficiency, dragging away any Kalari they found. Greg's squad set up an ambush in a collapsed building overlooking a main street. They waited until a Varathim patrol group passed below, then opened fire. The aliens fell, their bodies torn apart by bullets and explosions. But more came, drawn by the noise. Fall back to the tunnels, Vesh ordered. We cannot win in the open. The human and Kalari fighters retreated into the underground network that Danny had prepared. The Varathim followed, and that was their mistake. Danny detonated the first set of explosives, bringing down tons of rubble on the pursuing aliens. The survivors found themselves in narrow tunnels where their numbers meant nothing, facing defenders who knew every turn and corner. For 3 days, the battle raged above and below. In space, Nicole Reed's Valiant became the center of the defensive line. Her ship took dozens of hits but kept fighting, her crew working miracles to keep weapons and shields online. Scott Hayes coordinated firing solutions that allowed the outgunned human ships to punch above their weight. The Independence was not so lucky. A Varathim battleship broke through the defensive line and hammered the flagship with concentrated fire. Admiral Cole gave the order to abandon ship, but she stayed on the bridge, manually targeting the enemy vessel with everything the Independence had left. The flagship died, but she took the battleship with her. Jake felt each loss like a physical blow. The Defiant gone, the Unity destroyed, the Independence dead along with Admiral Cole, a woman he had respected deeply. Smaller ships were dying by the hour. The battle exploded across the Last Hope system like a supernova. 500 human ships slammed into the Varathim defensive line with weapons blazing. The darkness of space lit up with nuclear fire, laser beams and railgun slugs moving at incredible speeds. The Varathim responded with their bioenergy weapons, green beams that cut through shields and armor like they were paper. Admiral Turner's Defiance led the center formation, its massive guns tearing into a Varathim battleship. Captain Sam Porter directed the fire with cold precision, targeting the weak points that Jake Morrison's resistance fighters had identified. The enemy ship shuddered under the assault, its organic hull rupturing and spilling atmosphere. Target destroyed, the weapons officer reported. Picking new target, keep firing, Sam ordered. Don't give them time to regenerate. The Varathim fleet responded with overwhelming force. Hundreds of bioships concentrated their fire on the human vanguard. The destroyer Courage took multiple hits and exploded, taking her crew of 200 with her. The frigate Stalwart lost her engines and drifted helplessly into enemy lines. Within the first 10 minutes, humanity lost 20 ships, but this time humans had a plan. As the main battle fleet engaged the Varathim center, Maya Phillips and the Discovery led the science squadron in a flanking maneuver. They approached from below the plane of battle, using the system's asteroid field for cover. Range to target? Maya asked her navigation officer, Nathan Lee. 15,000 kilometers. We're in optimal firing range for the Cascade missiles. Maya took a deep breath. Months of work came down to this moment. All science ships launch missiles on my mark. 3-2-1 mark. 50 ships launched their quantum Cascade missiles simultaneously. The weapons streaked through space, their quantum cores humming with contained energy. The Varathim point defense systems destroyed some, but most got through. They detonated in perfect sequence, releasing pulses of quantum frequency that washed over the enemy fleet. The effect was even better than Maya had hoped. The first wave of Varathim ships went dark as their network connections disrupted. But the cascade did not stop there. It jumped from ship to ship, spreading through the tightly packed formation like a virus. Within seconds, over 100 enemy vessels were drifting helplessly, their biological systems confused and unable to coordinate. "It's working," Nathan shouted. "The cascade is spreading beyond our initial targets." "All fleet, concentrate fire on disabled ships," Turner ordered over the fleet-wide channel. "Kill them before they can recover." The human fleet poured everything into the stunned Vorathim vessels. Nuclear missiles found their marks. Railguns punched holes through unprotected hulls. The massive bioships that had seemed unstoppable began exploding in rapid succession. Jake Morrison's resistance fleet darted through the chaos like sharks, hitting targets of opportunity. The Horizon's Edge, battered but still fighting, led a squadron of smaller ships against a Vorathim command cluster. Lisa Gardner flew with instinct and skill, dodging enemy fire while putting her ship in perfect position for attack runs. "Danny, I need more power to the forward guns," Jake called to engineering. "Already on it," Danny Clark replied. His hands flew across the controls, redirecting power from non-essential systems. "You've got 30 seconds of maximum power, then we need to cool down or we'll melt the barrels." 30 seconds is all I need." Jake targeted the largest Vorathim command ship and opened fire. The Horizon's Edge might not be a warship, but months of modifications had given her teeth. Her weapons carved deep wounds into the enemy vessel's hull. Nicole Reed's Valiant joined the attack, her heavy guns hammering the same target. "I've got your back, Jake," she transmitted. "Let's finish this one." Together, the two ships concentrated their fire until the Vorathim command ship broke apart. The destruction rippled through the enemy network, causing other ships nearby to falter in their coordination. On the ground, Vesh led a desperate defense of the underground cities where the last Kalari civilians sheltered. The Vorathim had sent ground forces to finish the harvest, and they came in endless waves. But this time the defenders were ready. Greg Palmer had become a skilled squad leader during the weeks of guerrilla warfare. He positioned his mixed human Kalari team in a tunnel junction, creating overlapping fields of fire. When the Vorathim ground forces came, they walked into a meat grinder. "Fire!" Greg shouted, and 20 rifles opened up simultaneously. The alien creatures fell, but more kept coming. "Fall back to position 2. "Move, move, move!" His team retreated through the tunnel network that Danny Clark had spent weeks fortifying. Explosive charges detonated behind them, bringing down tons of rock on the pursuing Vorathim. The creatures were tough, but they could not fight through solid stone. In the medical station, Karen Hughes and Amy Stone worked frantically to save the wounded. Casualties poured in from both the space battle and the ground fighting. Human and Kalari lay side by side on the medical beds, bleeding the same red blood despite their different appearances. "I need more blood plasma," Karen called out, "and someone get me a surgical kit. This soldier's got shrapnel in his chest." Amy moved with practiced efficiency, her teacher's organizational skills translating well to medical logistics. "Karen, we're running low on antibiotics, and the Kalari wounded need their specific medication. We only have enough for another day." "Then we'd better win this battle in the next day," Karen said grimly, her hands steady as she operated. In space, the battle reached its turning point. The Cascade missiles had disrupted nearly 300 Vorathim ships, and the human fleet had destroyed most of them. But the remaining enemy vessels were adapting. They spread their formation, making cascade effects less effective. They focused fire on the science ships, recognizing them as the primary threat. The Discovery took a direct hit that tore through her shields and pierced her hull. Maya Phillips was thrown against her console as the ship shook. Alarms blared. "Damage report," she shouted over the noise. "Hull breach on deck 3, Nathan reported. "We've lost the primary missile launcher. Casualties across multiple sections." Maya pulled herself up, blood running down her face from a cut above her eye. "Can we still fight?" "Secondary launcher is operational. We've got 10 missiles left. Then we use them." Maya studied the tactical display, looking for the best target. Her eyes locked onto a massive structure deep in the system, partially hidden in the gas giant's upper atmosphere. "What is that?" Nathan enhanced the image. The structure was enormous, bigger than any ship they had seen. It pulsed with bioenergy, and streams of data seemed to flow from it to the Vorathim fleet. "I think it's their command nexus. The central node that coordinates the entire regional fleet." Maya felt her heart race. If we destroy that, we cut off their network completely. Every Vorathium ship in this system would lose coordination. It's deep in the atmosphere, Nathan pointed out. The pressure down there would crush most ships, and it's heavily defended. Then we need a strike team. Maya opened a channel to Admiral Turner. Sir, I found the Vorathium command nexus. If we can destroy it, we win this battle. But someone has to fly into a gas giant to do it. Turner did not hesitate. Commander Morrison, did you hear that? Jake's voice came through steady despite the chaos around him. I heard it, sir. We'll do it. You'll need backup, Nicole Reed added. Valiant is coming with you. As is the Defiance, Sam Porter said firmly. If this is the killing blow, the flagship should be there. Turner wanted to argue, but he knew they were right. All ships cover the strike team. Get them to that gas giant. This is our chance to end this. The strike force formed up. The Horizon's Edge, the Valiant, and the Defiance, along with 10 smaller vessels. They broke away from the main battle and raced toward the gas giant. The Vorathium realized their intent immediately and sent interceptors to stop them. Here they come, Lisa Gardner said as her sensors lit up with enemy contacts. At least 50 ships moving to intercept. Then we go through them, Jake replied. All ships maximum speed. Don't stop for anything. The strike force plunged into the enemy formation like a spear. The smaller escort ships threw themselves at the Vorathium interceptors, buying time with their lives. The light cruiser Phoenix rammed an enemy battleship, destroying both vessels in a mutual kill. The destroyer Hope fired until her weapons overheated and melted, then used her last power to ram another Vorathium ship. The 3 main ships of the strike force broke through the defensive line and entered the gas giant's atmosphere. The pressure increased immediately. The Defiance, largest of the 3, took the lead, using her massive shields to create a path for the others to follow. Hull stress increasing, Sam Porter's engineering officer reported. We're at 60% of maximum rated pressure and still descending. Keep going, Sam ordered. We're not stopping until we reach that nexus. They descended deeper into the swirling clouds of the gas giant. The pressure mounted. The Defiance's shields began to buckle. The Valiant's hull groaned under the stress. The Horizon's Edge, smallest and least protected of the 3, shook so violently that everyone had to strap into their seats. Then they broke through into a clear layer and saw it. The nexus was a living cathedral, a massive structure of bio,